Welcome to Delenda est Carthago, a curmudgeons.net podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andy.
And I'm your other host, Aaron. We're here to cut through the clutter of some of today's headlines.
This is the feelings, nothing more than feelings edition of the podcast.
All right, well, I didn't get to play this last time because we were having more technical difficulties. So I'm going to play it for you now.
Call connected through the NSA. Complete transmission through the NSA. Suspending your rights for the duration of the permanent war.
I had that, my phone rang the other day and two guys at work had never heard it before and busted up laughing.
Oh, man.
All right, you've got the first and the second article here for this week.
Yeah.
So, unless you want me to go first with something maybe real quick.
What is this bow tie crap?
We'll find out. So I went and got a copy.
No, you got two copies. You got me one.
I got two copies. I got you a copy, and I was going to put it in a hermetically sealed box or something, but I put it on my nightstand and forgot to read it. But I'm going to. But interestingly, did you look at it?
I haven't gotten a chance.
The page right before the bomber article is a tribute to Michael Hastings.
Oh, my word.
Yes. But I don't see the word NSA or CIA anywhere on the page, so I'll have to take a look at that. But I am looking forward to reading the On the Bus with Willie Nelson article.
You know, I actually think I might have read that article. It's disturbing.
Take it
What
away.
are you going to do? Take it away. My goodness. So, Andy's favorite person is at it once again. I believe. Oh, you know what? Actually, do you have the audio? We got to get that.
I do have the audio. We need an intern.
I know. My word.
All right, let me see. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Is due any second, and the world is waiting with bated breath. Journalists from around the world are camped outside the London hospital, where Kate is expected to deliver the future king or queen. The British press has been talking about a royal baby since before it was announced, before it was conceived, even before Will and Kate were married. When a pregnancy is wanted by the mother and father, their family, their community, even their country, it is easy to think of the bump as a baby. But not every pregnancy is a fairy tale. There are other stories. An ultrasound reveals severe birth defects. A child is raped and becomes pregnant. Another baby would jeopardize a mother's ability to feed her living children. A woman decides she does not want a child at all. These are different pregnancies. They're reminders that an unwanted pregnancy
hope they wouldn't all be the same one.
biologically the same as a wanted one. But the experience can be entirely different. Eggs are fertilized. Embryos implant, cells divide and multiply, fetuses grow. But
I feel like I'm in
when
sixth
does
grade
life
again.
begin? I submit the answer depends an awful lot on the feeling of the parents. A powerful feeling, but not science. The problem is that many of our policymakers want to base sweeping laws on those feelings.
That right there.
It's awesome. That's awesome.
Astounding. Her ability to put words together in a way that makes no sense at all. It's fantastic.
And even to be able to say some of them. What did she say at the beginning? Bated breath?
Yeah, what is that?
Is
that how what did she say? What was one of the pregnancies? Oh, a child gets raped. So somebody must have baited Beth. That's.
I guess that was a reference to something she would say later.
I'm not sure. I do that the opposite way. Usually I refer back to something I've already explained. But it makes sense in her case.
I'm about to tell you something.
I told you that story so I could tell you this one. So apparently now science doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is feeling.
I'm not sure what she was saying. It's like she said both.
She did.
It's like she was saying feelings shouldn't matter, or science should, but then science shouldn't matter. The feeling.
Yeah, and
I was
then the
confused.
politicians apparently got feelings at some point.
They have feelings too. You can't hurt their feelings.
Yeah. Well, right, but I don't want them to use the feelings against me. I think. I'm not sure.
I can't tell whether this is a total flip-flop of the whole abortion argument.
I'm not sure. Did you notice she got it wrong, though, even if that's what it is?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, she said that it mattered, the feelings of the parents mattered. Last I checked, well,
It was
it's
just
the
the mother.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter about the
So,
parents.
I'm really confused. And then, I don't know, if we carried this a bit further, and maybe I'm being dramatic here, because that delivery wasn't very dramatic from her. But maybe I'm being a bit dramatic. What stops parents, in this case, from, I don't know, getting upset with a 3-year-old and saying, oh, well, this life hasn't begun yet. Let's terminate this one.
Well, that's only if she's saying that the feelings are what matters.
Yeah, well,
Which we're
that's
not
true.
clear
But if
about.
the science is what matters, then it's still true.
Well, so science doesn't say that the 3-year-old's alive? Because isn't that their argument, right?
Doesn't science also say that the cells are alive anyway?
You're right, and then they change it to like viable or
Yes,
something,
exactly.
or sentient or some, yeah. So you're right. The science argument doesn't really play in their whole thing.
Yeah, no matter how they frame it, the science is not on their side.
Mm-hmm.
But the disturbing part is it doesn't it doesn't really matter, because if the science isn't on their side, then they'll just use the feelings.
That's right. Whatever it takes.
Wait, I'm not feeling good about the feeling statement right now. Science is the thing that matters.
Or whatever those politicians are
Yes.
using.
I had a little bit of trouble between what she said before about parents and what she's saying now.
I'm not playing that clip again.
Because didn't she say before that the parents shouldn't be in charge of making decisions about the children?
That's
And
right.
now the parents are the only people that should be in charge of making decisions about the children.
Melissa said that we need to have the community decide about the children, right?
Right. So this all comes back to the idea of shouldn't she be complaining that the government is not doing enough about making all of these decisions? Because, I mean, in her world, isn't community and government the same thing?
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a very confusing. I think she's confused about she forgot what she said before.
Or she doesn't care any longer about what she said before.
Well, the people that watch her on MSNBC probably don't remember what she said a month ago.
Oh, I was drunk when I watched that anyway.
That's the only way I
must have
watch her.
misheard her.
How could you watch her sober?
I don't think you can. I think that's the problem we're having right now.
Where did you find this? I can't believe I missed this.
I
She's fallen so far off the radar, which is a good thing. That
honestly don't remember where I found this. Some blog I follow linked it somehow. You know how it is. It gets so convoluted you can't keep things straight.
Yeah, I do like your last comment here. The one thing she does get right.
Oh no! Yes. Yeah. So, I'm assuming you want me to jump into that then, or you can take.
No, I'll read it.
Go
for you
ahead.
if you
Go
want.
ahead. That's fine.
Won't have quite the same punch. Right here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So the one thing Melissa does get correct, she comments on the problems involved in allowing lawmakers to make sweeping judgments that restrict behavior across the board and influence every situation, no matter the circumstances. I really doubt, however, that she would agree with my thoughts on the matter. Unfortunately, I'm one of those.
I doubt she would agree with your thoughts on anything.
It's true. I mean, I am an oddball, and
That's true.
I insist that the United States is far too large, and that the beliefs that everyone else thinks are common are truly not shared across.
Well, we're all Americans, Aaron.
Yeah, well, they're definitely, those beliefs are not shared across the nation. However, I'd take it a little bit further, and I'd say that's the same is true about states and municipalities and even neighborhoods.
You're going the wrong direction for her. She wants bigger, not smaller.
Yeah. I find that her belief that each circumstance results in different feelings and different beliefs seems quite a bit in line with what I think about anarchy. Not her desire for community and for that community to, as she said before, own children. I think we should be arguing our points to persuade others to join us in our beliefs, not desiring to impose those beliefs through coercive government, i.e. community.
This is exactly the same as those two women that I had a fight with about
Yes,
vaccinations.
yes. How horrible.
You know.
I just could not believe. And then he made a halfway intelligent reply. We'll run away now. We're done.
Yeah.
With this. We're done with this.
That's exactly
Watch
what
out,
my
you
wife
might know
said.
something.
Yeah. Well, unlike them, I allow comments on my posts, so. But anyway, Melissa, yeah, you're right. She's
something else. At every turn, it's a new...
So everyone has different feelings and beliefs, but I'm going to pick one that I like and impose it on you.
Yes, exactly. Well, it goes back to the modern obsession with narcissism. I'm arrogant, don't get me wrong. But taking it so far as to say that I should be in charge and I should make everything in my own belief system.
I know best.
The height of Tower of Babel worship right there.
Well, their arguments are so persuasive they have to impose them on everyone through coercion.
Oh, that's a great quote.
It's the same reason why we have to have government to build roads and school children and everything else, right?
Oh, yes, which we will talk about further later.
Well, anyway, good find on this one.
Yeah, she's disturbing, this woman. I don't know. Melissa, don't stop, because we get so much enjoyment out of laughing at you and your craziness.
You have a good quote here to finish this one. The triumph of persuasion over force is the sign of a civilized society. Mark Skusen?
Yeah.
I don't know who Mark Skusen is.
He's an Austrian.
A
Shocked.
literal Austrian?
Well, no.
An economist.
No, an economist. A former CIA economist, even.
What?
Oh, yeah. Former CIA economist.
All right. Speaking of the CIA...
Must have taught them how to, use the drug money to do what they want.
Speaking of the CIA, I took the family to dinner, and I swear that Edward Snowden is not in Russia. He's actually in that restaurant serving dinner, because the dude looked exactly down to the glasses.
Do you know what's happening right now?
I almost wanted to ask him to take a picture.
Right now, there's some lackey for the NSA trying to figure out where your phone...
Where was it?
Where has his phone been so I can find this restaurant?
It's my phone, and I paid with a credit card.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
Run, Edward, run!
I don't think he can... Well, maybe he can. I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, well... Anyway, I thought it was funny. I'm like... He took our order, and then he walked away. I'm like... That's Edward Snowden. And she goes, yeah, it is.
Now, was it facial hair less, or was it with the stubble?
Just a little bit of stubble.
Wow.
He gained a little weight, though. He's put on a little weight. Probably the stress.
Hey.
The airport food is not great.
That's
so
true. That's true.
5 weeks of that will probably do it to you.
We should have sent him oranges.
Yes. I don't think they would have made it.
Probably not. Probably.
All right. You actually have two articles tonight.
Holy cow! Aaron was prepared 5 seconds before we started the podcast.
I nearly had a heart attack when I logged in, and you had actually added a second segment here.
Yeah, I nearly had a heart attack when I looked at the mess that you created of the document.
You'll like mine.
I know. All right. Anyway, so this next article that I wanted to share is from. Actually, I stole this. Oh, I shouldn't say that, because he gets really uptight about this.
Intellectual property?
Yes, our buddy Robert.
Oh, you stole this from Wenzel?
EPJ. Yeah, he did a post on this, so I kifed a bit of it. So
I love
this is from Foreign Policy, which is the internal magazine for the I forget who, somebody,
one of the agencies.
Yeah, some agency that wants something to do with the state. Anyway, Audrey Kurth Cronin is the author, and I believe this is the title: "Drones may be creating sworn enemies of the United States." It's either that or Robert Wenzel just forgot to ever tell us what Foreign Policy's title was for the article. In which case, go and complain at his blog.
We'll put a link to his... No, we won't. We're not putting a link to his blog. Why do people have to have 3 names and put them out like that? I don't understand. That's narcissistic right there.
I have 3 names.
I have 3 names too, but I don't write my middle one out whenever I can.
Yeah, unfortunately, I went to private school for a little while, and then I transferred to public school, and they thought for the longest time that my first 2 names was what they were supposed to call me, because my parents actually put my middle name on all the forms. They're like, nobody else does this. See, they must want him called this. That's an interesting period of my life.
That may explain a lot about you.
It does, actually.
Anyway, drones may be creating sworn enemies of the United States.
I know. This comes as a shock to you, doesn't it?
Total shock. Apparently, it's a shock to whoever this was written for.
Very true. Very true. So this is, there's nothing, new here, but I thought we would add it as just fun. More or less a, hey, maybe over time those other people are right. That thinking has actually happened somewhere.
The main goals of U.S. counterterrorism are threefold: the strategic defeat of Al-Qaeda and groups affiliated with it, the containment of local conflicts so that they do not breed new enemies, and the preservation of the security of the American people. Drones do not...
Stop right there, because I didn't know that those were the 3 goals of this. Did you?
Well, you have to back up a little further and say, what is the definition of counterterrorism? U.S. counterterrorism, because everybody, you have to, it's so tangled, right? You have to unpack every word.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I guess, I guess I'm thinking more of just the drone action itself, because that's pretty much all we're doing at this point, right?
Right, we're just bombing. Well, and the drones, that's just a euphemism for massive bombing.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. But more expensive and higher technology, massive bombing.
Very expensive and not much more accurate than just dropping one from 50,000 feet.
Exactly. Yep.
But apparently one of the goals is preserving the security of the American people.
I felt really threatened when somebody blew their nose in Africa the other day.
Yes.
So we let rip some bombs.
That's right. But apparently drones do not serve these goals. Whoops.
I'm beginning to think that they wanted to sell drones in the U.S. market, and that's the only reason they're used anywhere else. Well, that and they kill lots of people that aren't.
Well, and as you said, they're very expensive, so they make a lot of money.
Exactly.
How much does a Hellfire missile cost?
Yeah. So could we rewrite this as the main goals of U.S. counterterrorism are to keep the American public scared? That would be
number one.
Number 2 would be spend lots of money so that military contractors make lots of money.
Well, that's twofold. It's spend lots of money on the military so that we can continue to spend lots of money on the military, right?
Right. And
ever increase it. And the benefit is we can keep our buddies
paying us kickbacks.
They make lots of money.
And then 3, I think, would be make sure that just enough of the terrorists survive so that we still have people to call terrorists.
Yes. Yep. Well, I think you're right about wanting to expand the use of them. It's like other industries where they really aren't selling you the product; they're selling you the consumables for the product, like instrument testing or. Right, they'll give you the $1 million box for free because you're gonna have to. You can only buy their stuff forever to go with it, right?
Yeah, even the nuts and bolts are proprietary. You know, you can't secure it to the floor unless you have our drill bits.
That's right. Yeah, they're all like 1/4 mm sizes that only the special wrench fits. Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm sure the Hellfire missiles are the same way, right? You can't just go get a Chinese knockoff and bolt it onto the Predator missile.
How shocked would you be if the drone thing was really about somebody selling the attachment between a Hellfire missile and the drone?
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would bet that attachment is made in a factory in one of 10 senators' districts. That's what I would
guaranteed.
So, this is. I'm not sure it's worth reading any of the rest of this.
It really isn't. We've said what I wanted to say about it already. The only thing I did want to emphasize. Here we go. Let me read this little snippet. Since 2010, and I'm just going to skim through this a little bit. Since 2010, drone strikes have progressed well beyond decapitation, now targeting leaders and followers alike. And then
by decapitation, though, they're talking about decapitation of Al-Qaeda.
Yes, taking out
not individual people, because Hellfire missiles don't actually decapitate. They
do in a way if we talk about like all of it being removed.
It's true.
As well as a range of Taliban members, Yemeni insurgents.
Not Yanni.
Yeah, exactly. So with its so-called signature strikes, I love this, the way the article is written, actually. Washington goes after people whose identities it does not know, but who appear to be behaving like militants in insurgent-controlled areas.
Terrorists! Terrorists!
And it continues on, and they talk about how John Brennan obviously said horrible things, saying that, we haven't killed anybody other than terrorists, and how that's nonsense. However, the next paragraph really sums it up wonderfully. The author says, the drone campaign has morphed, in effect, into remote control repression. The direct application of brute force by a state, rather than an attempt to deal a pivotal blow to a movement. That's the most disturbing thing I've read in a long time.
Well, it makes me question who actually wrote this.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, it's almost like this person's one of us. But they're writing for this magazine that makes you think, wait, maybe they're actually advocating this use elsewhere. It's like, look, we can use these for remote control.
It's like, we were trying to just destroy these people. We realized we could do way more than that.
Exactly.
Like mad scientists, kind of.
I read this and I was like, okay, well, so it's like taxes, but more obvious. It's the same thing, but this is much worse. They're actually killing people. Like in the moment, killing people through their actions, not just, by starving them to death with their taxation. But what's disturbing is when you think about the propagation of drone technology and the idea that they're moving it and really moving it to the United States so quickly, you almost want to be one of those crazy conspiracy people and think, is that just what they're going to do here once we all decide, hey, screw the government?
Yeah.
I mean, once everybody else agrees with us and says, hey, screw the government.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this Foreign Policy magazine.
Yeah, I want to know how you subscribe to it now.
You can follow them on Twitter.
So,
I'm trying to figure out who these people are.
Hold on a second. I can tell you what our buddy said about him.
All right, so the president and CEO and editor-at-large was formerly chief executive of IntelliBridge Corporation, managing director of Kissinger Associates, and U.S. Deputy Undersecretary of Commerce for International Trade Policy.
Yeah, so it's the Council on Foreign Relations. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, these are not cool people.
No, Audrey will be fired. I don't know how she got it published.
I don't know. It's fantastic, but she's on LinkedIn.
You better send her a friend face invite or whatever.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Distinguished Service Professor at School of Public Policy, George Mason University.
Ah, there it is.
See, oh no, it gets better. This is.
Did she go to school with Melissa?
That is current, and also she is a senior research associate and changing character of war program and Center for International Studies at Oxford.
Wow.
So actually, changing character of war program, perhaps this insight she's had in this article may have some impact. However, her past is that she was a professor at the National War College. And
I could have called that.
And a specialist in terrorism at Congressional Research Service.
She was a terrorist?
Yeah, essentially. She did the background. She didn't actually commit the acts. She was also on the faculty at Georgetown University. She went to Oxford, Princeton, and Harvard.
So if you reread this knowing who she is now, this is more of a lament about how we screwed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Not by killing people, but we just, we did it the wrong way or something, We undermined U.S. credibility, like there was any to begin with.
Oh, okay. Check this out. Why drones fail when when tactics drive strategy is the actual title of the article, I believe. And she wrote this as an opposite to Dan Bynum's Why Drones Work, the Case for Washington's Weapon of Choice. So my assignment for next time will be to find out why drones work, and we'll talk about that.
So his was why drones work, and hers was why they work, but you got to change a little bit, right?
Why they work, but not as well as we had hoped.
Right, yeah. They work differently than we had hoped. Maybe even better.
Oh, okay. So all this stuff is published online anyway.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't realize that.
You didn't have to steal that from Wenzel.
I mean, no kidding. I like the.
I like what you did. But...
So they have this picture. They have this picture of these guys in Pakistan holding up pieces of a missile, and their caption for the photo is "Don't drone me, bro." Pakistani tribesmen hold pieces of a missile. January 2009.
Am I allowed to see this picture?
Certainly. Oh, it's disturbing when your wife sends you a message like "Stop the education establishment" while you're blogging about how much you dislike the government. That's called love right there. All right, I just sent you a link.
Is that a real picture? Oh, I got you. It's a real picture, and I thought you meant in the picture they were saying, "Don't drone me."
Check this out. You can't say anything because it'd be mean, but check it out. Because you can't possibly say anything good. I just sent Andy her LinkedIn page.
I'm just going to close the window, Aaron. Just
good call.
Or
see, it's headed downhill.
Or send her a connector.
Yes, you should. I podcasted about you. Should be your introductory line.
Let's see.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Oh yeah.
Tool.
What should I? All right. Am I a colleague?
No. All right.
What?
Sorry, I have to say this. I went to the Why Drones Work, just so I could bookmark it so I don't forget to do it. They also have a picture of drone operators, and the caption for that photo is "Call of Duty." Drone operators in New Mexico, October 2012. I'm sure they meant like Call of Duty as in they're playing video games.
Yes. I think that's an old article. Did she write that?
No, this is the one she wrote in opposition to. So this is Daniel Byman.
All right, so this is my challenge. I just sent her an invite. Well, I'm trying to. Your invitation was not sent.
Darn, those NSA guys are quick.
Well, it says you click I don't know Audrey, and then you put a note in, and it says I'm not sending your invitation because you don't know her. So, classmate, you know what I should do? I should add the War College as one of the schools I went to, and then it would let me pick. I'm gonna put friend. I'm gonna say I saw her article in Foreign Policy magazine, and I'd like to add her to my network. And then there we go. All right. I'll report back on whether she accepts my invitation.
My goodness, you're using LinkedIn like other people use Facebook, sorry.
I'm using it to antagonize someone. What better use for these technologies is there?
True. If that's the case, then I should be on Facebook, though.
Exactly. Not Facebook, no. All right.
I really want to start that other one. What was it on IT Crowd?
FriendFace.
Was it FriendFace?
It was FriendFace.
We really should start that. That's the one to have. Definitely. All right.
Are you done with this one?
I'm done. I'm
right.
done. I am actually going to quote that. That paragraph's going to be one of our quotes one of these days, because that is just chilling.
The last one?
Yeah.
The morphed?
Yeah. What is this rise of the bow ties nonsense? Is this some hipster thing? You're going to wear them with your shoes?
I'm not wearing a bow tie.
Oh, okay.
I want to know why everyone else is wearing a bow tie. So we were at the Beer, Bourbon, and Barbecue Festival last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 100 degrees. It's right outside Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so sad that I didn't go with you. 100 degrees. Are you kidding?
It wasn't 100. It was hot though, and the sun's beating down. I mean, it's a nice atmosphere, but these,
except for the actual atmosphere, which was.
I struggle for the word for these guys. These people, who I can only assume are all in the same fraternity and forced to do this, like because they were pledging or something, but they're all wearing either white pants or pink pants, white button-down shirts with bow ties, and some ridiculous fedora-like hat.
They're called hipsters.
Yes. That's what I thought at first, too. And there were lots of them.
Mm.
They even all had the same haircut. It was a little disturbing.
That's because kitsch is cool now, suddenly, again. So beer, bourbon, and barbecue is suddenly cool because homey things are cool.
All right, but then we're at dinner tonight, and two of the waiters are wearing their black pants like everyone, but instead of the chef's shirt, they're wearing button-down white shirts with black bow ties. Like, obviously, it's not the uniform. They just chose to do this.
We have a new family at our church, and I think the guy, both weeks, has worn
bow ties,
a white button-down shirt with a black bow tie.
I think we first noticed it. We went to the Tom Woods Bob Murphy thing in Manhattan, was it Manhattan? Wherever it was, New York, and one of the dudes was wearing his bow tie and his preppy stuff, but we only remembered him because he asked the dumbest question of anyone there. And both Tom Woods and Bob Murphy went like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But he thought he was really smart.
Bob Murphy gave him the zombie look, like not on purpose though.
Right.
I got it.
So anyway, I'm just wondering, is there some new fad I'm not aware of? How do I avoid these people?
If there is a new fad and you're noticing it, I still know nothing about it.
You're probably behind.
Yeah. Generally, if there's a fad, no, I have no idea.
All right. Well, maybe somebody can send us a note and let us know what's going on here.
That would be nice.
I'm genuinely interested to know.
Really?
Yeah. There was like a memo went out or something.
Maybe it was a crap. What are those things called where they all plan to meet somewhere and sing songs or do dance numbers.
Crowd, the flash
mob. That's it. Maybe it was a flash mob.
Oh, it could be.
Flash mob of I don't know, whatever.
I can only see the top of your head.
Fantastic. Is that better?
Yeah, it's worse. No.
Well, because you can see my
whole
face now?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. So I'm going to do the history segment today, and
this is goodness.
What Aaron's complaining about. So we skipped our last recording due to scheduling difficulties, but it was right at the time of the new baby, George.
George who?
I think his name's just George. He's the new king, right?
George Harrison? He's dead.
George Harrison's dead. It's a different George. He does live in England. So, no, the new baby, the royal George. There
was a royal baby?
Yes, this woman, Kate Middleton. Have you heard of her?
Unfortunately.
So, I guess, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago now, right? And the only reason I got on this was because on Friend Face, someone I know reposted this from someone else, and it says, "I wonder how long a maternity leave Kate Middleton will take before she goes back to doing nothing."
That's kind of funny.
Which I liked. And then the next person replied and said, "I'm just going to leave that alone." And I replied and said something about, be careful what you ask for, because whenever agents of the state go back to work, we're all in trouble. And that just continued. And but then there were these other two people.
What is this?
Talking about
they
how
don't sit around and do nothing?
They follow the royals and they don't do nothing, and they tour the country and visit factories and they bring in revenue, and then this. So this is like one progressive, and then a different progressive is like, no, I'm glad my tax dollars go towards people in government who legislate, not just basically celebrities,
That's...
At this point, my brother jumps in and starts, basically going off about anarchy, which was great. It goes back and forth, way over their head. I mean,
clearly.
They tried out we have to have bridges and roads.
Anarchy is not a suitable living condition.
It's not a living. Or what did she say? Something about it sounds more romantic than it really is, i.e. Egypt. What? So anyway.
Wow. This is where we would put the curmudgeon's tag. That word does not mean what you think it means, or whatever our tag is to that effect.
So what I wanted to do was go after this woman's fallacious idea of how, I don't know what she thinks these people do or what value they bring or why they are superior to anyone else that lives in that country. But I titled this 400 Years of Royal Atrocities.
I'm liking where you're going with this already.
And I'm going to start with I'm going to start in 1605. We're going to go through the royalty of England, and let me just highlight some of the really nice things they've done, similar to touring schools and factories, but a little different than that. So, first one being James the First. You may know him because the Bible is named after him. The authorized the King James version of the Bible. He sponsored that translation. But he's also the guy that Guy Fawkes tried to kill in the Gunpowder Plot, because Guy Fawkes was a Catholic, and at that time James was not really partial to Catholics, to put it mildly. He had them introduce a bill into Parliament in April of that year, 1605. The Gunpowder Plot was on November 5th, 1605. The bill would have outlawed all English followers of the Catholic Church. I don't know what that means to outlaw someone, but it doesn't sound good.
I believe you lost your standing in business and you couldn't own anything. Honestly, it's that simple.
That's probably the least that happened to you.
Oh,
right?
well, I think you were your existence was tolerated in that your literal existence only.
Yeah. He forced Catholics to take an oath of allegiance.
Wait. Stop right there. Is that kind of like saying a pledge?
Pledge of allegiance.
Of allegiance? And the bad thing about this would be that they're pledging allegiance to the state over their church.
That's right. Yeah.
So
they were supposed to
when
take
people
an oath
do that pledge of allegiance thing here.
That's different.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I was confused for a second.
That's what I've been told, at least. So he forced the Catholics to take this oath, pledge of allegiance, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know whether this was while he was sponsoring the translation of the Bible, but he personally supervised the torture of women accused of being witches, and apparently seemed to enjoy it.
That seems like something that, would be on a what would Jesus do list, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, Jesus would have gotten rid of the witches for sure.
By torture.
By torturing. The next guy is not technically a king.
Don't say his name. Just skip over. Please.
I know, but I have to. Because he was essentially a king. Oliver Cromwell, our buddy, he drives Charles II, who would be the next king, out of England, assumes the role of leader of the Republic, and does so many horrific things. I will only put one in here. That being the mass eviction, killing, and deportation of 50,000 men, women, and children from Ireland, and sending them to be basically slaves in Bermuda and Barbados.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of
the southern half of Ireland while he was at it.
Totally destroying it, and now there's there's all this debate of he wasn't really that bad of a guy because he didn't actually preside over those exact things, even though the guys that did all reported to him, and he was basically the king of England at the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway,
he's to say that.
After he died in 1658, the guy he drove out, Charles II, comes back to be king. In 1670, he grants authority to a little small adventure called the British East India Company, and you may have heard of them. They're given the authority to for autonomous territorial acquisitions, to mint money, to command fortresses and troops, to form alliances, to make war and peace, and to exercise both civil and criminal jurisdiction over the acquired areas in India. Basically, they rule India.
Yeah.
And rule with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Thus,
also rumored that he had a great desire to eat mass amounts of curry.
It could be
causing all of this, essentially.
That was the whole goal. Was the tea? He liked the Darjeeling and he loved curry.
Yeah.
And that led to 300 years of domination over the Indian peoples.
Live simply so that others may.
That's right.
Wasn't
that guy? Peoples. Yeah. I say peoples because the East India Company took over 100 nations of India, of the actual territory, and forced them to be
India.
One country.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll skip.
Oh, that's got odd parallels. It's like taking a whole bunch of states and jamming them together into a country too. And
see, I was trying to
stay there.
Hey, listen. I pulled a Melissa. You see how I let you tell us what I was going to tell you later?
Oh, yeah, see? Oh, that's brilliant. I see now why it works for her so well.
Exactly. It's perfect. We'll skip the next two, James II, Mary II.
Wait, Mary II. There's something bad about her, but... Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is a different one. No, you're thinking of Mary I.
Oh, Mary I was horrible. I think Mary II was pretty bad, too, though. More politically, though, not
relative.
Not on the atrocity level.
It's going to get much worse.
Oh, I know.
So in 1707, there was a merger, almost like a corporate merger, between the Kingdom of England and the Kingdom of Scotland under the House of Stuart.
Very friendly merger.
Very friendly merger. Then Anne, she was the last monarch of the House of Stuart. And then it started the House of Hanover. And yes, that is Hanover, Germany. because the first monarch under the House of Hanover is George I, born in Germany, doesn't speak English. Now, he wasn't a stupid guy. He spoke like 7 languages, just English wasn't one of them. But just the ridiculousness of our king doesn't even understand what we say if we talk to him. Right? His son,
I heard
George
really
II.
liked it when he spoke French to them, though.
Yes, that was actually the only way he could communicate with anybody in England, speaking French. His son, George II, also born in Germany. But then George III, that's the one everyone knows. He's the Mad King George. They think he died from porphyria. But he's the one that we all know from the Revolutionary War, tried to prevent the colonies from seceding, and basically just dismissed any of their concerns over being ruled over from thousands of miles away. Good dude.
Yeah.
His son, I believe this is his son, George IV, tried to divorce his wife Carolyn, not by going to court because that would have been illegal, but by introducing what was called the Pains and Penalties Bill of 1820 into Parliament, which basically had Parliament try her for a crime so that he could divorce her. That bill passed narrowly, but then was later withdrawn when I'm guessing there was a riot or something. And
maybe the wool wasn't quite as thick as they had hoped for.
I might not have been. But George did get the final word as Carolyn died the following July, most likely due to him poisoning her to death. So, I don't know why he wasted the time with the trial.
Hey, if you can't get it done one way,
that's right. He's a go-getter.
Yeah. Try again.
William IV, very nice man. Proponent of slavery in the British colonies. Slavery at that time was illegal in England and Scotland and so forth, but all of the colonies it was permitted. And he said that freedom would do the slaves little good. And he said he had traveled and that the free men living in the Highlands of Scotland were worse off than the slaves living in the West Indies. So,
and although that may have been true,
those men were free.
Well, yes, there is that. And
then in his speech to the House of Lords, he insults William Wilberforce, a great man, Christian, who was fighting to end slavery, and he says, "The proponents of the abolition are either fanatics or hypocrites, and in one of those classes I rank Mr. Wilberforce." I'll just note that Wilberforce had the last laugh because he did eventually end slavery in all of Britain's colonies.
Trying hero.
After William, we have Victoria, where the term Victorian era comes from because she was queen forever.
England's greatest queen.
England's greatest queen. She was the Empress of India, took that title on for herself, and said, quote, "If we are to maintain our position as a first-rate power..."
Wait, did Max Boot write speeches for her?
I know, right? "If we're to maintain our position as a first-rate power, we must be prepared for attacks and wars somewhere or other continually."
Oh, I see. No, it was Charles Krauthammer.
It was Krauthammer, or one of... We can never disown. She said she saw the expansion of the British Empire as civilizing and, my favorite word, benign, and that it protected the native peoples from more aggressive powers or crueler rulers. And said, quote, "It is not in our custom to annex countries unless we are obliged and forced to do so."
Okay. Who was the guy that wrote for Bush? Gerson? Michael Gerson?
Was it Gerson? Yeah, one of those guys.
You
could have lifted this first quote right out of something from one of...
Yeah, exactly.
So she said this was after the Indian Rebellion of 1857, where the Indians got tired of, being ruled over by the British. Many of them were killed. But, that was benign, and they were just protecting the native peoples.
They were obliged and forced to do so.
They were forced to do so. She also presided over the First and Second Boer Wars. And if you're not familiar with what those are, that was where there were people living in South Africa that the British didn't like being there and wanted to kick out. So they basically just decided to murder all of them. And they built concentration camps. And the conditions were, I would say, just as bad, if not worse, than what Aaron and I will have to endure when we go to the FEMA camps.
Please send oranges.
Send oranges. They did eventually win the British, and that resulted in South Africa becoming a British colony, unfortunately.
What happened after that? I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was a very peaceful time after that, where Africans and white people got together, and there was no problem, and everything was rainbows and kittens. So.
Unicorns?
Benign. Unicorns, yeah. Moving along from Victoria, Edward VII, I labeled him as one of the least bad kings. He was actually called the Peacemaker, fostered good relations between Great Britain and other European countries, especially France. He said while he was on a tour of India, quote, "Because a man has a black face and a different religion from our own, there is no reason why he should be treated as a brute." And he was Victoria's son, and actually she was given the title Empress of India after this tour where they actually liked him. So because they hadn't met his mother yet.
If you like me, you should meet my mother. I mean, wait, no.
Never mind.
Never mind.
George V, in 1917, he becomes the first monarch of the House of Windsor. Now, you may be wondering why we changed from the House of Hanover to the House of Windsor. That would be because it's 1917, and there's a lot of resentment of Germany, and having Hanover in your name is not a good thing. So he just said, we'll change it to Windsor. The same time is the turmoil in Ireland, the fight for Ireland's independence. He expressed horror at the government-sanctioned killings and reprisals, but I guess then he just went and had lunch. So, it's like, oh, I'm the king, and we shouldn't go. Governments shouldn't be killing these people. But what are you going to do? I mean,
and then he realized, oh my goodness, we're going to have to fight the Germans on one side and the Irish on the other.
That's right. So he's followed by Edward VIII. I actually don't mind this guy. I mean, he was a Nazi sympathizer, but so King George V dies on January 20th, 1936. Edward wants to marry this woman, Wallace Simpson, who's an American and who has been divorced twice. And they're like, you cannot do this. That's in November the same year. They tell him you can't marry her. So he's like, all right, then I'm going to abdicate. Bring the documents. He signs them on December 10th. So he was in office less than a year and decided he was gone. So
he really seems like the best one so far to me.
He's the best one so far, yeah. So he leaves office. He abdicates, and
he signed. You failed to mention this. You mentioned that he abdicated, but he signed the instruments of abdication at Fort Belvedere, which is where Mr. Belvedere was born, thus creating a great American sitcom.
I did not realize that. I'll have to update the show notes. Anyway, Edward spins off the TV series Mr. Belvedere, and his brother George VI ascends, as they say, to the throne.
Ugh.
George
makes me want to vomit. Can I tell you that?
George is the stammering king. That's just what I call him. And my wife hits me every time I say the title of the King's Speech. Which is actually a pretty good movie.
Jeffrey Rush.
Only because Jeffrey Rush is in it, not because Colin Firth is in
Agreed.
it. But it's still, state worship.
Oh.
And then finally, we have Elizabeth II.
State worship and royal worship.
Yes. And we've talked a little bit about some of this before, but she's been the head of the Commonwealth since 1952.
She has got to be... How old is she?
She's 4,000 years old.
Apparently.
She
learned her secrets from Emperor Palpatine.
That's right. Among her many accomplishments are the one thing we talked about with the Mags episode, the troubles in Northern Ireland.
Well, I don't know. They combined on the Falklands, too.
Very British, right? We had some trouble there.
Yeah.
The Falklands, another little mess, and two little countries you may have heard of called Iraq and Afghanistan. So
wait, 1952. Is that
probably
the
Mossadegh? Yeah, Iran, I'm sure, is in there.
We were right. That's what I was just thinking. Yeah, that's about the time that the American intelligence and British intelligence,
OSS and MI5, MI6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna have to disagree with this friend face commenter about how valuable the royalty is in England. I'm guessing that over the past 400 years, these people would have been a lot better off if there was no king or queen.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're right about that.
So there's your history for this week.
Down with the royals.
Down with the royals. Thank you for listening. You can find us at our website, curmudgeons.net, and on Facebook and Twitter, both at /curmudgeonsnet. Drop us a note with suggestions, links, or show ideas, and remember to share the podcast with your friends. We'll be back in 2 weeks. When Americans stop following the drama of the royal family, we will all be dead, and this podcast will not matter anyway. Until then, spit on your hands and hoist the black flag.